Hello again, YouTube family. Thanks for joining me on this episode. And I want to apologize for the sporadic release of videos. I'm working a full-time job doing this in my spare time. So, on my days off, I try to put together videos. I read through the news all through the week, trying to find topics of particular interest to me or topics that I just think are important to bring up. Today's video is a little bit different. It's not really dealing with any particular political topics. It's not having to do with politicians, legislation that's going on, whatever social issues in society. This is a video about three people, as you can see on the screen. There's Ethan Klein, who is in the upper left-hand corner. In the upper right-hand corner is Sam Seder, and at the bottom is Steven Crowder. All three of them have popular YouTube channels, podcasts, whatever. And I'll go through and break down who these people are for anyone watching this video who don't already know. And Ethan Klein is a part of a podcast called H3H3. I know about H3H3 because my older daughter, Sarah, is a fan of the H3H3 podcast. It features Ethan Klein and his wife, I believe her name is Hila Klein. And they do a lot of comedy, reaction videos. They deal with topics going on among like YouTubers, things like that. And they focus on a lot of comedy. Whereas Sam Seder in the picture is very much a political commentator. I mean, he has done some acting. I know he has, I believe he does or used to do a voice on Bob's Burgers, the Bob's Burgers cartoon. But for years now, he's been on YouTube. He has a podcast. I believe he may be broadcast on the radio as well. The Majority Report with Sam Seder. That's the thing he created. And one of the people who used to be on the Majority Report, then had his own show, the Michael Brooks Show. Michael Brooks is one of the reasons why I do this. He was kind of my inspiration to do something more when it comes to political and social discourse. But Sam Seder runs a very intelligent, cerebral show where they break apart politics and things like that. And then you have Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder is very much a right wing. I would call Steven Crowder a right-wing grifter. I read about him a little bit for this episode of my YouTube channel, and he's had some minor acting credits earlier in his career when he was younger. He hosted the Conservative Political Action Conference, or CPAC, I believe that's what it stands for, whatever. He hosted that for a few straight years, and then according to what he says in what I'm about to go over with you here, is that he quit doing CPAC on his own accord. It could be that they just decided to drop him. But he has his own YouTube channel. It's a big YouTube channel. It has over 5 million subscribers, I believe. And I mean, maybe even 5.5 million subscribers or more. And he is very much pulling on whatever right-wing strings are going to get him an audience. I assume his audience is the younger members of the uber right wing. I mean, the dude wears a shoulder holster with a couple of handguns on him for his show. It's, I believe, all performative. I assume if you saw him out in public with his wife, he would not be wearing a shoulder holster and his guns. I believe what he is doing is performative for the show that the kind of show that he does, the kind of audience he tries to draw in. And he's been suspended multiple times because Steven Crowder is just straight up, to me, garbage, just over-the-top, misogynistic, racist, bigoted garbage. That's what he's devolved to on his show. And from watching this video that I'm going to play clips from you for you here on this episode, I assume he considers himself a comedian because he jabs at Sam Seder in their back and forth during this over, I guess, wanting Sam Seder to claim he's not a comedian, stand-up comedian, which he claims he's not. I believe Sam Seder did stand-up comedy early in his career before he got into the other things that he does. And the whole premise of this was that Ethan Klein, on his H3H3 podcast he does with his wife Hila, had mentioned that he doesn't believe there's anything wrong with just following what the scientists say, not asking questions. Just if the scientists say wear a mask, then wear a mask. Just common sense stuff, saying, yeah, I don't have any problem with just listening to what scientists say, because I'm sure he would say, I'm not a scientist, so I'll listen to what the scientists say. Apparently, Steven Crowder, whether he watches the H3H3 podcast, whether somebody brought it to his attention or whatever, he had issues with that. He apparently challenged Ethan Klein to a debate over the subject. Ethan was aware of the fact that Sam Seder had challenged Crowder years ago to a debate. There ended up a point where, for Politicon, and Politicon is a convention. It's sort of like Comic-Con, but instead of comics and comic vendors, you have political commentators, people on that scale. They do debates, they do panel discussions, and then they have booths where you can set up and people can come talk to you about whatever issues in politics, whatever issues they have with your commentary on politics, whatever. But it's Politicon, it's a political-oriented convention. And for one Politicon, the organizers had told Sam Seder they had set up a debate with him and Steven Crowder. He said, that's fine, I'll debate Steven Crowder. That's good. And then they contacted him later and said, well, Steven Crowder backed out. We believe his father told him not to debate you. And whatever, Steven Crowder has been ducking Sam Seder. You even have commentators on the right. I mean, Sam Seder is very much a left-wing commentator, but you also have political commentators on the right who have called out Steven Crowder, for his cowardice in ducking Sam Seder incessantly, which is what he's done. Steven Crowder has constantly tried to avoid any kind of political debate with Sam Seder. That's the setup. Crowder challenged Klein to a debate. Klein knew Crowder had been ducking Sam Seder, and so Ethan Klein decided to contact Sam Seder and say, hey, Crowder wants to debate me. I'm not really a debater. I'm not even a political guy. I do comedy and reaction videos and this kind of stuff that I do. I don't follow politics. I don't have that much in political knowledge. And I'm not a debater. I don't debate people. I just do my show. You want to come on and with me to debate Steven Crowder because you know the issues. You are a politically oriented guy who's in it every day of the week. And so Sam Seder said, yeah, I'll jump at the opportunity to join you and debate Steven Crowder over whatever issue he wants to debate over. And so they'd set up the debate for a Friday. Sam Seder quit his show early, a half hour early on Friday, this past Friday, to be able to go and join Ethan on the debate of Steven Crowder. And apparently Steven Crowder was monitoring Sam Seder's show. He saw that Sam Seder can't quit his show early that day, ended his show early that day, and called off the debate with Ethan Klein, thinking Ethan was going to get Sam Seder to come and debate Crowder with him. And to avoid having to debate Sam Seder, Crowder just canceled the debate, claiming that his wife, who's pregnant, he had a medical emergency. He couldn't do the debate, which is funny that he would use his wife basically as a human shield to not have to debate Sam Seder. And Steven Crowder shows exactly who the right wing are. They are afraid of everything. They're cowards, and they are the kind of person that will use their wife as a human shield to protect themselves, as in this case. And so the debate was rescheduled for this week, early this week, and Sam Seder and Ethan Klein came up with a plan. Sam was going to pre-tape a portion of his show on Monday, figuring that if Steven Crowder's monitoring his show, Crowder had rescheduled the debate for right when Sam Seder's show starts. Sam Seder starts his show noon Eastern time, I believe they said, and Crowder scheduled a debate with Ethan Klein of H3H3, at noon Eastern time, when Sam Seder would be doing his show in New York. And but to Crowder's surprise, because Crowder is not the brightest out there, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, or whatever cliche you want to use, Sam Seder taped a portion of his show, pre-taped it, and started it playing so it looked like his show was starting at noon. And once Crowder saw that Sam Seder's show was starting in New York, he figured, oh, well, he can't be on here with Ethan Klein for this debate because he's doing his show. And that's what got Crowder willing to do the show, was the debate. He ended up not canceling this time because he thought Sam Seder was in New York doing his show. And let's go through the video clips of the interaction. It's hilarious.
Welcome, everybody, to a very special episode of the H3 Podcast. Today's my first ever debate against the one and only Steven Crowder, thank you very much. Thank you. Steven Crowder.
Please stand up.
Who's standing up?
Ethan, please stand up.
Ethan, oh, man.
Ethan, please stand up.
Who am I to disobey our great, glorious leader? Crowder challenged me to a debate. He called me a layup. He said I was stupid. Well, Steven, I think the debate speaks for itself. Steven Crowder, for those of you that don't know, is probably one of the most hateful, bigoted people on the platform. Racist, homophobic, pretty much hits every box. We made this big, beautiful compilation of some of his greatest hits, but it's actually so heinous and offensive that YouTube age restricted the first upload of our video. So that all is available for our members, with the whole compilation, everything, which is, adds a lot of atmosphere. But for the sake of this version, we had to cut all of that out. But he is, let's just take my word for it in that case, a giant douche. Well, my tiff with Steven came when he said that our clip about COVID, when we were saying it's okay to listen to scientists, said it was his favorite clip of all time. We went back and forth for people who have been following, and Steven boldly challenged me to a debate. in a video titled, Your Move, Ethan.
I will invite you on the show, Ethan Klein. I will have I'll follow you on Twitter. I will have Darren, my booker, reach out where you can come on this show.
Darren's his dad, by the way, right? Just say your dad, bro. He keeps trying to hide that it's his dad. You guys will get more info about the dad. But Darren's his dad.
We usually go after political figures, authoritative sources right on this show. Usually those are the people who we have to debate. Change My Mind is not a debate, but we've had politicians, scientists, Pulitzer winners, and every now and then a layup crosses our path who we just kind of like the shtick that you're only capable of.
Now, in our original video about Crowder, we had noticed that he had reached out to me to book me on his show, and he was kind of butthurt that I ghosted him all this time. And in this video, he claims here that he never reached out to a booker and that I'm lying about it. So here's what he says about that.
I'm going to assume that you didn't blatantly lie in some of the things that you said, that you're just really lazy or incapable of your due diligence. So you said we'll get to a female booker reached out to you for the show. Hey, Gerald, have I ever had a female booker?
That's a no.
Never,
that's
ever. Now you're either lying.
We don't work with women on this show. So that's impossible.
Or you're so lazy. Because I don't want to bully you, and then you go and try and get us removed. You're so lazy, you didn't even just verify the fact that it was complete.
Well, you know what? I took this to heart. So I said, you know what, Stephen, I am going to look into this. I found the email that was sent to me. It was very professional. And it still had her social media contacts on it. And so I followed her down on Instagram, and I said, hey, blank, did you ever do booking for Louder with Crowder? I'm just trying to verify that this email I got from you inviting me on the show is real or not. Thanks. Here's the email, by the way. Super professional. Definitely a real email, by the way. This one in particular, she immediately responded to me. She said, yes, I did booking for him years ago for a few months. I'm not quite sure whose contact you'd have now. I know his dad does his booking for him, though. Let me know if you need it to try to find his contact. Interesting that she knows that detail. That makes me think that is very real. And that he's lying about inviting me on his show. How odd. Well, yeah, and while we're talking about lying, Stephen, why don't you tell him that you never filed a lawsuit? Tell us if you filed that lawsuit against YouTube, Stephen. Come on, be honest with your viewers.
And so in that first clip, Ethan Klein, the guy from H3H3 Podcast, introduces the debate premise, explains what an offensive a-hole Steven Crowder is. Anyone who's ever heard Steven Crowder's comments, anything from his show, understands he is a offensive, bigoted a-hole. And that Crowder had referred to a debate with Ethan Klein as a layup because Ethan Klein doesn't debate. He's not a political player, a political commentator at all. And explained the whole thing, what the tiff was over initially, which was H3H3 suggesting that it's okay to listen to scientists. Steven Crowder lied, apparently, about trying to book Ethan Klein on his show. Ethan Klein had got the email from a female booking agent at some point, and Crowder claims that's impossible. I've never had a booking agent, and as you can tell, everybody on that show is male as it pans across the different people there in the studio with Crowder. It's all a bunch of guys. I'm assuming all a bunch of misogynistic, racist, bigoted, a-hole guys. And it's an echo chamber. And it's a bunch of yes men. This channel, Crowder's channel, generates a lot of money, and they're all grifting off of the concept that there are plenty of right-wing people who will tune in to hear their own ideas, beliefs regurgitated back to them. And that was the premise there for how this whole thing got started. And this is video 2.
Bully me, but here he goes on to say this, and I am feeling very insecure now that Stephen has taken a shot at me.
Wait, the Kleenex.
Let me just say, first of all,
You hold on a second.
We were making fun of the fact that Steven had Kleenex on his table, which is pretty funny, let's be honest. He's sitting there with gun holsters and tissue. I mean, what is he crying every second? So listen to this.
Get out of here. That's due to allergies, okay? So I had a bronchial thing, which is community guidelines, an immutable condition. It's genetic.
Oh, poor Steven with his allergies. Don't put the tissue on your desk. It's funny. All right, don't get so twisted up. Look how twisted he gets about me laughing about him crying all the time. He needs a box of tissue on his desk.
But I guess there's a ceasefire here, so we can talk about any genetic conditions like the lack of chin, lack of beard, 120-pound man wearing the Cinderella bandana on his head.
That's the one I didn't get. What's the 120-pound man? Cinderella?
I couldn't really follow.
If he's talking about me, I am not 120 pounds. Trust me, dude. We don't have a right. Well, anyway,
and to compensate with the beard that he uses just for men, or the
That's
eyebrow
my
phrase
favorite.
like E.T. in the cornfield. It's so stupid, bro. The point is,
I always think it's like hilarious when people actually go to the debase themselves to making fun of my Tourette's. You know, it's like, well, okay, dude. I really got you hard with the tissue thing, bro. Just don't put the tissue on. I can't hide my Tourette's.
You fired the first volley by making fun of his allergies. So.
Your allergies, dude. Poor
Which you didn't
Steven Crowder
actually
has
do.
a disability.
Yeah, we didn't realize he had a
know.
disability like that.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, bro.
Ableist much?
I had all that coming.
In that clip, Klein goes over, some of the back and forth between the two. And Ethan Klein had made a joke about the Kleenex tissue that was on Crowder's desk, referring to it as Crowder's crying all the time, which is humorous because Crowder portrays himself as this over-the-top caricature of a right-wing pundit. Just the meathead, not very bright, dummy meathead pundit sitting at his desk in his studio with a shoulder holster on. Just idiocy. And Crowder turns to what he does, and he makes fun of Ethan Klein, including the Tourette's that Klein suffers from, which is why you see the facial activity on Ethan Klein, because he has Tourette's. That is an actual problem that you have to deal with, I'm assuming, for life. I'm assuming it's something Klein's had since he was born, and it's just something he's got to deal with, and he seems to deal with it pretty well. From what I've seen, I don't watch H3H3. I don't know if he has any outbursts, or if it's just the facial gestures. But Klein makes a funny joke about the tissue, and Crowder goes back to all he knows how to do, which is ad hominem personal attacks on somebody, which is what attacking someone with Tourette's is, let's face it. And this is video 3.
And Dan had this one moment that actually went a little bit viral in the political community that Steven notably ignored during our tit for tat. I'll play it for you here. And this is where I'm leading to.
A lot of people, but just because I feel like there's a decent chance Steven Crowder will see this, and this will be the only time that I get to say this. Debate Sam Seder, dude. Stop being such a pussy. I know that your dad doesn't want you to, but that was a long time ago. That was you're 3 years older now. It's time. It's time to debate Sam. So.
And so that was showing Dan, one of the members of the H3H3 crew, on one of their shows had brought it up that Crowder needs to stop being a coward and debate Sam Seder. And this has been going on for years. Years ago, Seder challenged Crowder to a debate. Crowder has never accepted, except for the one time at Politicon, in which supposedly, from what people have said, Crowder's dad, who is his booker, who works on his show, told him not to do it. Basically, that Sam Seder is an actual intelligent politically oriented person, he would make you look like a buffoon, and it would hurt your brand. You know, it might cause you to not be as popular if somebody saw you get tore apart by someone who actually knows their stuff. And this picture is something else you may recognize Steven Crowder by. He's the Change My Mind guy. He goes to college campuses. We'll put up, I made that Coors Light is less filling, that's my add-in there. This became a meme on the internet. I assume most people who know who Crowder is know him from this, from the internet memes, where he goes to college campuses with some topic on his little sign and says, "Change my mind," trying to get college kids to randomly debate him on a college campus. Although, here, in this video exchange, Crowder claims that that's not a debate. That's just a discussion, which is idiotic. When you're debating topics with somebody, it's a debate. If you're telling somebody, try to change my mind, which is a ridiculous premise. From the get-go, an ideologue is not going to change his mind. And I'm sure if Crowder has done that all that much, at some point he ran across some graduate student, somebody who was, where he had a topic on his little banner, and it just happened to be a topic that somebody was in the process of writing a master's thesis on, or doing a doctoral dissertation on, and they saw it and thought, oh, let's see what he has to say. And they walked up and ripped him apart, and it never made it onto his show because he's not going to play a video where he gets torn apart by some doctoral student who's doing his doctoral dissertation on the subject that Crowder's trying to claim you can't change his mind on, which, like I said, is an idiotic premise to begin with. But let's go on to video 4.
Show called The Majority Report. Has 1 million subs. He's a big channel. Crowder famously backed out of a scheduled debate with Sam at Politicon, earning him the name Cold Feet Crowder at the behest of his dad. Sam secretly recorded the phone call with the organizer of the event, who exposed Crowder. Here's the call.
Yeah, that's a real shame.
I think you're bigger. Yeah, I don't know what his team is doing around him, and that's, just for me to speculate at this point. I don't know.
He has a team? He has a whole team, and he won't do it? He can bring the team.
I believe it's his father, but I can't confirm or deny that.
By the way, everyone seems to be confirming that it's his dad doing all this shit behind the scenes somehow. So people speculate that he actually backed out of the debate because Sam is actually, an informed, good debater, and they were afraid that, Crowder would look like an idiot. And so he backed out at the last minute at the behest of his father. The thing is, he's happy to challenge me, somebody that has no political knowledge, very little. I don't spend my day talking and thinking about politics, nor am I a debater, nor am I, let's be honest, intelligent. So let's be honest. So with all that being said, we figured let's get someone who is familiar with the topics, who does spend their time thinking about politics, and who is, unlike me, smart. So we've got a little surprise for Steven Crowder. So let's all enjoy the debate.
And so that was Ethan Klein explaining who Sam Seder is, mentioning Crowder backing out of the debate for Politicon, plays the audio that Seder's played before, where the woman from Politicon was explaining that Crowder backed out of their debate. And then, there's a little self-deprecating humor on Ethan's part where he says, I'm not someone who keeps track of politics, I'm not a good debater, I'm not particularly intelligent, whatever. And this image you're seeing here to my left is from this interaction. And I took a screenshot of the absolute surprise on Steven Crowder's face as soon as he saw Sam Seder come on the screen. And he realized that Klein and Seder had duped him, and he was going to be faced with Sam Seder. And I'm sure he was, at that moment, surprised, as you can see on his face, but also mentally trying to figure out how he's going to get out of this. Because he did not, for whatever reason, he absolutely is terrified of debating Sam Seder. And so this is a video 5.
I'm really glad to have my next guest on the show, and I've always said this. I always respect people who enter into the arena. And we've had a lot of debates on this show, which is different from like a Change My Mind, where we sit down and have conversations. But my old Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach always said, if you come a switch, we go switch. You go spicy, we're going to do a little spicy. So we always try and keep it as respectful as possible. And I really do appreciate the guy making the time, because a lot of people has a huge YouTube channel, several YouTube channels, one of the OGs. A lot of people watch him. You know him. Some of you like him. Some of you don't. Same can be said for me. Ethan Klein from H3H3. Ethan, thanks, man, for making the time.
You're very welcome. And I just want to say, I know you said that I would be a layup.
I think I used something like that.
And I think you're right, because I don't think I'm a very good debater. I think you know that. So I didn't want to make it too easy for you.
Oh, okay.
So I've prepared.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So
Dan,
what we were going to talk about is the initial quote that happened. I think he's looking off there. The initial quote that kind of was turned into a little bit of a meme, which wasn't intentional, and was you saying you don't even have to think about it regarding the CDC. And I disagree with that. I think people should think about it. I believe. And we talked about this through playful ribbing and an aggregation of medical authorities and scientific voices to make an informed and rational decision. So where do you think that I'm wrong on that?
Stephen, do you know that the Spartans are like practice man love with children?
Oh, geez. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. What did I tell you? He was going to do anything he could to avoid.
And so in that clip was the start of the dialogue between Crowder and Klein. And Crowder had made the comment that he respects anyone who enters the arena because he's a right-winger, so he has to try and sound manly. There's some banter back and forth. Crowder brings up the CDC comment, and Ethan Klein makes a joke about, because there's this Spartan thing, I think it's body armor advertisement on Crowder's desk. I'm sure it's some company that pays to have their name there on his desk. And it says Spartan, I think it says Spartan body armor, I believe. And Ethan Klein brings up that the Spartans practiced man-boy love with underage boys. Because that's what he does. He's humor is what he does his show for. And this next clip is actually the shock reaction as soon as Crowder realizes Seder is there.
Oh, there he is. Oh no, Sam Seder. What a fucking nightmare. I had no idea this was going to happen.
And that speaks for itself. It's just this image to my left. It's Crowder thinking he had maneuvered around Seder and realized in that moment he had been duped, and Klein and Seder had prepared for Crowder's attempt to dodge Sam Seder. And we'll go on to video clip 7.
I thought Ethan was a stand-up guy. This is where we are. Yeah, I told Dave, remember I told you? I said I guarantee you he's going to do anything he can to avoid the debate.
Well, I just think he believes that he should debate you.
No, he doesn't. He just takes advantage of women with, mental health issues. Ethan Klein doesn't stand up and do his own fighting. It's just hilarious. Let's bring on FM.
You
would do anything to avoid talking to me. I think the point that you made.
Does that include Joe Rogan?
Yeah, Joe Rogan and Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson and Noam Chomsky and Sam Harris. Everyone's been avoiding.
And not just attempting to get your audience by jumping in.
Well, I debated with Charlie Kirk. Stephen, I mean, it's about issues. Let's talk about those issues.
That's what you're doing here.
Valid points.
You're so clever. I had no idea that you were taking your show off early last time, coming in today with your pig pen peanuts on.
I wish everything.
You take those off with the velveteen buttons.
We must have been
Black
very
eyes,
worried about
aren't
this,
they? Like
Stephen. I don't know why.
No one's worried about
on,
it.
Sam.
I didn't want to do it.
Let's have a
Sam,
debate.
come
If
on.
no
I'll tell you what. I have a general
This is a
rule.
great
I
opportunity
don't start a debate based with people on a lie. And how about you get
sabotaging?
How about you get
Stephen,
to
show yourself, you
audience
coward.
share?
Stephen, show yourself.
All right,
Don't show your
30th of the
co-host.
Ethan, you should show
Stephen,
yourself.
And so that started the dialogue between Crowder, the other guy there with him, Seder, and Ethan Klein from H3H3. And Crowder is accusing Ethan of avoiding debating him. Sam Seder addresses the fact that Crowder has been avoiding debating him for years. And the funny thing is, in that clip, Crowder brings up the fact that Seder ended his show early on Friday, which nobody really seemed to bring up immediately there, but I believe Sam caught on to it, caught it in his mind as their banter was going back and forth. As soon as Sam Seder came on, for whatever reason, the camera went to, it's like Crowder looked over at his guys. He had that look. He raised his hand, and the one guy immediately went over and sat down in the chair, and they put a camera directly on him. The camera wasn't on Crowder, whether he was like mad or motioning for somebody to get his dad or whatever the deal is with Crowder. And just bantering back and forth as Crowder is accusing Ethan Klein of not being willing to debate him. Sam Seder trying to say, well, I'm here. Let's debate. You want to talk about the issues? Let's do that. And this next clip is clip 8, and it is the bulk of the interaction with everyone, including the inevitable early departure of Steven Crowder.
Ethan, how can you respect yourself as a man, brother?
Steven, you are such a coward. Stop showing your little leprechaun co-host who comes out dressed like your sidekick.
Come on, Ethan, why do you have to bring on
Show Steven!
a 30th of the viewership?
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. So you have a guy with less viewers to come on to debate him because you can't?
Well, obviously, if I'm a layup and not a debater.
Well, look, you're the one who called. You're the one who got
Steven's the one that got angry about
Show
it.
Steven. Don't be
Hold on a
such a
second. All right,
coward.
hold on a second. Let me hear what Pigpen has to say here really quick.
Fair enough.
Show
But
Steven.
Ethan, look, I don't. Hold on a second, Ethan. This is because initially
Thank
I came
you.
on here to talk with Ethan. Ethan, come on, man. Look, the same reason that I haven't ever had a conversation with Sam Seder is the same reason that Joe Rogan, Sam Harris, Brett Weinstein, Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro don't own anything. It's based on a lie, Ethan. Just
What's
like
the
you
lie?
claiming my Ethan,
What's the
you
lie,
claiming
Joe?
my
What's the
booker
lie,
reached
Stephen?
out to you, Ethan, when you
Stephen,
know that's
what's the
not
lie?
true. There's no
What's
one
the
ducking
lie?
you,
Why
Sam.
are you
I've
so
never.
afraid?
Sam.
Listen, I think you're a smart
I can
guy.
call out Mike
I don't
Tyson.
understand why
It doesn't mean that I'm ducking
you are so
him.
worried about this.
Why do you
I
feel that?
honestly
Why do you feel
don't.
that anyone, Sam? Why do you feel that anyone owes you airtime when you have a 40th of the audience and you've been doing the
I
show
don't think
for
anybody
10
owes me
times as longer?
airtime. I think that Ethan has just given it to me. I didn't
Right.
ask him for it. And
Right.
so
No, you've been begging
the
for
real
it for a long
question
time with
is,
everyone
Stephen,
bigger than
why are
yourself.
you so
Yeah, he found
worried
he
about
can't build an
engaging with me?
audience, and so what
Why
happens is
are
he
you
uploads
so
15
worried about-
times more,
Do you think
has
your
less than a
audience
50th of the
says-
audience.
Well, that's
Do
why
you
he
think
wants to
that your
debate you, is so he
audience-
can build his.
Sam,
Do you
Sam,
think
come on.
your audience
Yeah,
cares
yeah.
that I only have 1 million subscribers and you have what, 6 or 7 million
I think.
subscribers?
Let me answer. Can I
don't
answer your
think
question?
they
Can I
do.
answer your question? Can I answer your question? Do you want me to answer your question? My audience would say Sam who? Just like Joe Rogan's audience and Ben Shapiro's and Dave Rubin. And now they all know who you are because you had to shoehorn yourself into another coward show.
Do another show.
Every day that you do that.
Why are we?
Hold on a second. This is another lie. This is another lie. Let me clarify, Sam. The Change My Mind, everyone knows on the show, right?
Yes.
We've had
How
professors
did you know
on the.
I ended
This
my
is what
show
he's not going to talk
last week, Stephen. If your audience
because you're an
doesn't even know me,
idiot
how
and
did you
half of
know
your
that?
staff
Do
doesn't
you
like
watch my
you.
show?
Because I'm a diehard fan.
Yes, it's because he's a diehard fan. I had heard of you, but I just met you. Congratulations, Sam Cedar's fan.
I'm just a huge fan.
Right now, every time I try and talk, you're interrupting, Sam.
Yeah,
right now, I'm trying to talk with you. You're interrupting, Sam.
You bombarded the show.
You bombarded my show under a false pretense. You claim just like you claimed that I ducked the debate with you under a false pretense. Have I ever?
That is what the Politicon people told me.
Oh, is that what they told you? So you're just lazy with your research?
And if big tech is,
you continue with the lie. You need to research and say, did Stephen ever accept?
They said you were.
Let me explain to you. Hey, whoa. Sam, sweetheart. Sam, fake stand-up comic who we can't find any footage about online. Let me finish.
I'm not a stand-up comic.
Oh, you're not? Okay, that makes sense because everything that I've seen is incredibly unfunny and unentertaining, which may explain the audience.
Irony alert, Stephen.
Comedian.
The irony alert.
Sam, can I answer your question? Samuel, can I answer your question?
Yes.
So you have gone on, you've done the same thing with other comments. Everyone has a bigger audience than you. Because you said, I want to speak with Steven Crowder. You believe that at some point there was some acceptance? When have I ever done a Politicon? Ever? As a matter of fact, in the last decade, I haven't done a single political conference. I hosted CPAC for 4 years and stopped because they suck. They don't pay and they're full of losers. And you've been clamoring for it, and it's a lie.
Told me that you dropped out of doing
how
his
can you
show
say that
this is just hearsay and gossip?
But how can he say
I've never met more of a woman
career when he wants to keep debating?
I don't know. It's bizarre. All right, okay.
About the issue.
So Ethan, do you want to have a conversation, Ethan?
About the vaccine? Because
Ethan, do you want to have a conversation? You're going to hide.
Absolutely,
I do. So why are you hiding behind Sam Cedar?
No, me and Sam are aligned. I'm not hiding. He just.
Well, you're just a liar.
So you're a liar.
Because remember we said, hold on a second.
It's
ridiculous.
Are hiding.
Really? No. This is actually
who snuck in on you?
Who's the guy who never appears on stage, never does a live show,
but is
never even allows a shadow of comedy to be perceived on his program? It's just hiding. Right. Everything we do is out in the open. H3.
Stephen, you're wearing a holster.
We agreed.
So what?
Hold on a second. Yeah. So. I want to normalize responsible gun ownership. Is that your debate? No wonder you had to bring in a hack for you.
You're talking about comedy.
I mean, strategy.
That's not very funny.
You have a holster, bro.
Also, your sponsor is Spartan.
And he takes advantage of mentally ill women for a show that
is about gay boy love.
Okay. All right, Sam. You got it. I hope you have a wonderful highlight reel.
Hold on. Let me just make one point.
Hope you enjoy Politicon.
Hold on. Let me make one point, Steven.
Take it easy.
Steven, don't bail.
Guys. I appreciate it.
Don't bail, you coward.
Hey, Sam, one thing before I go. Can you take off your glasses?
Hold on.
One thing before I go. Can you take off your glasses?
We just want to see.
I just want to see if you take them off. If you have the Velveteen Rabbit buttons. That's the only thing I'm curious about. It's the only interesting part about it.
Or if there's a soul.
Let's debate.
Take off the glasses.
Let's debate, Steven.
Don't hide behind the glasses.
Don't be a coward.
Don't say let's debate, Ethan. You've lost
coward. Debate the issues. What does it matter who you debate, coward?
All right, good. You guys are good. Thank you.
Coward.
Won't even take off the glasses.
I was right.
All right, yeah, you can give it the X.
You run away twice. Cold feet again.
And so that was the bulk of the interaction. You have Steven Crowder saying, "Come on, man. Come on, Ethan. Let's just you and me talk. Let's leave this other guy out. I don't want to deal with knowledge." Crowder keeps bringing up subscription size. Like, Sam Cedar only has a little over 1 million, maybe 1,000,001, whatever his subscribers are. Like, that's nothing. That's huge. I've got a subscriber base of like 18 or whatever it is right now. 1 million is huge. But Crowder keeps making it this issue of, well, I don't debate people that are beneath me in subscribers. or whatever his claim is there, which, as Sam Seder intelligently points out, you go to random college campuses and debate with random college kids, and your viewers watch that. So what does it matter if they know who I am or don't know who I am? You know, Crowder keeps bringing up Joe Rogan and Ben Shapiro and Dave Rubin, these other people. And one, Joe Rogan doesn't do debates. Joe Rogan does long-form interviews with people. He does long-form discussions. And maybe Rogan has some blackballing of Sam Seder. He's like, I'm not going to bring you on my show. I know I've watched Joe Rogan's podcast before, and he has talked about Sam Seder dunking on not Shapiro, but Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin is a political hack. He's a guy who used to be supposedly on the left, now he's on the right. And Dave Rubin is following the money. That's what he's doing. He used to be at TYT, a left-wing commentator show, and they wouldn't meet his monstrously high demands for salary, and so he left and became a guy on the right because he found out the right wing pays a lot better. There are a lot of wealthy multimillionaires and billionaires who will fund these ridiculous people on the right to put out right-wing propaganda. And so that's what Dave Rubin does now. And he shows himself to be the idiot that he is constantly, publicly. And Sam Seder's called it out plenty of times. And even Joe Rogan, in defending Dave Rubin, which Joe Rogan's had Dave Rubin on his show. Joe Rogan's had a lot of right-wingers on his show. And even in defending Dave Rubin, Joe Rogan was dunking on Dave Rubin, basically calling him low-hanging fruit, saying that it's not fair of Sam Seder to pick on Dave Rubin because he's the low-hanging fruit. He's the easy guy to make fun of because he makes such an ass of himself. And as far as Shapiro, I believe Shapiro would be willing to debate Sam Seder in a situation like this. If it was Shapiro who had gotten a tiff with Ethan Klein, and Ethan set up the debate and brought Sam Seder along, Ben Shapiro would probably be like, okay, let's debate. But Ben Shapiro also is one of these guys who's a right-winger, who uses right-wing talking points, and who is disingenuous. He will cherry-pick information, cherry-pick data, and try to make an argument out of it, when oftentimes the places he goes to cherry-pick data, in some cases, are articles that are completely blowing up his entire argument. He's just picking data from the paper. And this is the...
Wow. Dude, I can't believe he admits to following...
He admitted that he followed the show last week.
We got him.
He admitted that he watched the show last week.
We got him. Dude, we played him so hard because he literally was following. He saw that you went live, dude. We fucking got him.
Oh my God. We fucking nailed him.
Holy shit. So do you want to respond to... Here, you want to throw him up, Dan? Yeah. Do you want to respond to anything he said now that he's not talking over you?
Well, I mean, look, he's obviously lying about the idea that he wouldn't want to do a debate with me because his audience wouldn't know. Here's a guy who literally tracked my show last week because he was afraid that this would happen. Here's a guy who claims to have watched, I don't know what it is he said he watched, but he's not worried about audience not knowing who he's debating because he sits down with random college kids and sandbags them on their campus. I have the recording from Politicon when they called and he backed out. I have emails from Gavin McInnes whose show I would have never gone on, except he offered up a debate with Crowder, and Crowder left. And so, I think Stephen is afraid of debating somebody. Look, I do a political show every day. It's dry,
I don't.
It's boring,
it's obvious.
and you don't.
Yeah, exactly. And
he's
so if he
afraid.
wants to debate the issues, what's the difference between me and anybody in the world?
And so in the end, they laugh over the fact that Crowder admitted to watching Sam Seder's show, monitoring his show to make sure he wouldn't end up having to debate Sam Seder. Towards the end there, Ethan Klein made the comment that, what's the difference between debating me and anybody else on Earth who is a non-follower of politics, who is not a debater, who is just a regular... You could debate anybody on the planet if you're willing to debate me. But what you obviously are showing yourself not to want to do is to debate somebody who is knowledgeable and intelligent. And that's the bottom line here. Steven Crowder is a fraud in every way. He props himself up as this macho, right-wing, misogynist a-hole, and maybe he is all that in his private life. But it's backed by stupidity. Steven Crowder apparently thinks he's a comedian, but to him, using mocking stereotypes of racial minorities or women, gender differences, to him is funny. I just don't, funny is funny. If you can make something offensive funny, you can be a comedian. But with Steven Crowder, all I've seen is he will make very racist comments, and perhaps his really very racist right-wing audience laughs at them and thinks it's funny. I don't know. I mean, all the guys there in his studio who are getting paychecks from him are going to laugh. They're paid to. But, if Steven Crowder thinks he's a comedian, he truly is a parody of himself. Because that's the funny thing, is him thinking that he is a comedian. Anyways, that was the whole tiff. That was Ethan Klein and Sam Seder ending up really getting Steven Crowder because he's a dumbass. In the end, they got Steven Crowder because Crowder is a dumbass, and all Sam Seder had to do was pre-tape a portion of his show so he could go be part of that debate. And Steven Crowder claims he was prepared for it, although he bailed. I'm sure, looking at the look on his face, he wasn't prepared for it because he was trying to make sure this debate between he and Klein happened when Sam Seder wasn't available. And he didn't think of the fact that Sam Seder could pre-tape a half hour, an hour, hour and a half, whatever, of his show and make it look like his show's going like normal and he's in New York doing his show, when in actuality he's ready for the debate. The fact that Crowder did not see that coming shows how much of a buffoon he is. But they really ended up exposing Steven Crowder for the coward that he is, not willing to debate anybody of any substance on anything of substance. Anyways, thanks for watching my video. Sorry it ran a bit long. I found this immensely humorous and enjoyable. Please, if you like my videos, give me a like. Please subscribe. And by all means, have a good day.